let's rank my favourite actors. Ahoy everybody, and welcome to another film ranking video, and I'm ranking my favourite actors. So, as I record this, it was seconds ago, but I don't know how I'll space these out, but previously I have ranked my top 10 actresses. As I mentioned there, with actresses, I buy films because actresses are in them. The same, to a large extent, is not true with actors. Probably my favourite actor, when we get to him, I'll pretty much watch anything he's in, but he's sort of become my favourite actor by default, purely just because I like so many of his films. But yeah, none of these actors are people who will specifically make me want to watch a film, or I will watch a film just because they are in it, but I don't necessarily enjoy all their films. This will become clear, particularly with the number 9 and 10. But again, apart from number probably 1 and 2, these aren't really in an order. But without any more ado, my 10th favourite actor is John Cleese. So I was debating about putting him on this list because obviously my main love for him is for his TV roles, Python and Fawlty Towers, and I'm sort of concentrating on films here. However, it is acting, obviously, but because of my love for his work, I will watch most things that he appears in and watch films, you know, just even if he makes a short cameo, I will often watch a film just for that. Not watch absolutely everything he's made, but he's certainly a draw. You know, film-wise, obviously Fish Called Wanda is a masterpiece. I'm a big fan of Fierce Creatures, the sort of sequel. Clockwise is great. Then there's his work, you know, in Bond and Harry Potter, which I know he did for paychecks, and, you know, he pretty much admitted as much to me when I met him, and he expressed shock that people were telling him their favourite thing they'd seen him do was Bond, you know, and he was only in it for 2 minutes and what have you. But yeah, obviously the Python films. But, you know, those are sort of the biggies with Cleese. Then you've got things like Privates on Parade and stuff like that. Early on in his career, things like Rise and Rise of Michael Rimmer, and quite a few little films he had little cameos in. Those are particularly the ones I'll sort of seek out, the 60s and 70s work. The more recent work, I'm a bit more picky with, but certainly the earlier stuff, yeah, I will watch just as John Cleese is in it. And on a related note, my number 9 is Michael Palin. So again, you know, it's his Python work and ripping yarns, particularly, that sort of draw me in. And, you know, particularly those Python films, he proves himself probably to be the best or most versatile actor. I think Graham Chapman was probably, which is why he was the lead in both Holy Grail and Life of Brian, he was probably the best actual actor in them. But Palin was certainly the best character actor, if that makes sense. But since then, you know, so many great films, a lot of his work with Terry Gilliam and his own works like The Missionary. Yeah, you know, just always gives a good performance, always watchable. Michael Palin, number 9. Number 8 is Bruce Willis. And specifically, really, Bruce Willis up to about 2000, 2001. After that, he's made some good films and given some good performances, but the good to dross ratio is sort of ever widening. You know, we now know why that is. It's because of his medical issues that make it difficult for him to remember and speak lines. So he's doing lots of short cameos in films, which sort of tarnishes his reputation a bit, but hopefully now we all know why. It'll sort of bolster it up again. But I've been a fan since Moonlighting, one of my favourite TV shows. Absolutely loved him. in it. And, the draw of him in that led me to Die Hard, as it did many people, and the genius of that film. And it's certainly its first 2 sequels, maybe first 3. I don't mind Die Hard 4. Hudson Hawk's hugely underrated. Last Boy Scout is the best action film of the 90s, as far as I'm concerned. Pulp Fiction, obviously. 12 Monkeys. So many strong performances. As I say, certainly up to 2001-ish. I would watch a film just because he was in it. Colour of Night I've got a lot of time for. I know it's a bit cheesy, but I really love it. Fifth Element. Sort of later, Sin City, which, that was post 2001, yeah. The Sin City films, the Red films, Looper. There's been some odd quality in the noughties, but I say mainly his earlier work is what draws me in. Bruce Willis, number 8. Number 7 is Ben Affleck. I know some people don't like Ben Affleck, and I never really... I think people get too hung up on his high-profile... Well, it was just his first romance with Jennifer Lopez that sort of turned people against him, from what I could see. Which I never quite understood. But anyway, I first became aware of him when I saw him in Mallrats, and I've sort of followed him since. Obviously, he was in and won an Oscar for writing Good Will Hunting. He's done the blockbuster stuff, Armageddon and Batman vs Superman and Justice League. His work that he directs is always interesting. Argo is a wonderful, wonderful film, which I highly recommend to everyone. But yeah, he's Gone Baby Gone, he's really strong in. He's another one who just never really gives a bad performance. Back to his work with Kevin Smith, Chasing Amy is, I think, what probably made people really appreciate his acting chops. Dogma, my personal favourite Kevin Smith film and my third favourite film of all time. He gives a great performance in Jersey Girl. Again, this was all got... because of the backlash through... What's it called? Jiggly? Whatever it was called, which I've never watched, but the one he did with Jennifer Lopez, it's turkey time, gobble, 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 and all that rubbish, but really was what, temporarily at least, halted his career. They went from that, and they made Jersey Girl, which is a Kevin Smith film, and again, there was a bit of, it's him and J-Lo again. However, spoiler, she dies about 10 minutes into the film, and the story is about him bringing up their daughter on his own. So it's not really a film with them in together, if you see what I mean. But he's magnificent in that. Shakespeare in Love, which is a brief but memorable performance in. And yeah, lots of other really strong stuff, but certainly I highly recommend his work with Kevin Smith, Argo, Daredevil. I really liked him as Daredevil. Anyway, my number 7 is Ben Affleck. Number 6, and still fairly controversial as I record this, it's Will Smith. Like most people, I became aware of Will Smith through Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which I used to love watching when I got in from school. Just a great show, and he such charisma, pretty much playing a version of himself, but not quite, but certainly how we sort of saw him. But then he's gone on to make some wonderful films. Again, not somebody who I watch, as with most of these, not somebody who I watch absolutely everything he makes, but I always enjoy him in everything he makes that I see, if that makes sense. The Bad Boys films. Collateral Beauty is a wonderful film with a great performance by him. Enemy of the State, Focus, really good. Hancock, I enjoyed. I Am Legend, I, Robot, Independence Day, all the Eyes. Just great performances. Obviously Men in Black, particularly the first two. Just great performance and great films. The Pursuit of Happiness is a beautiful film. £7 is a beautiful film. Even things like Wild Wild West, which the film's a bit of a mess, but his charisma shines throughout. He's just a great actor. Number 6, Will Smith. Number 5 is Samuel L. Jackson. And again, he's made so many films that I've probably only seen about a third of what he's made, maybe half, but I've never seen him give a bad performance. There is an element that in a lot of films he's sort of playing a version of himself. I don't think there's a huge difference between Nick Fury and Mace Windu and even Julius in Pulp Fiction and what's the character name? Zeus in Die Hard with a Vengeance. They're all built from the same framework, if you like, but that's not to his detriment. It's why he's cast in those roles. But outside of that, he's done some wonderful stuff. For example, Ordell in Jackie Brown. His voice work in The Incredibles even. Fury is really good in that. His character in Django Unchained is very different, to the rest of his work with Tarantino, and his great performance. Black Snake Moan is probably my favourite performance of his. It's a wonderful film. Sadly, Christina Ricci's pretty much disowned it because of the way it was marketed, which is a shame, because I wanted to get her to sign it, but she was, when I met her, but she was refusing to sign Black Snake Moan and stuff. But yeah, wonderful film and great performance by him and Christina in that. My number 5 is Samuel L. Jackson, and my number 4 is his co-star in a number of Star Wars films, Ewan McGregor. Again, there's a lot of his stuff I haven't seen, but I've never seen him give a bad performance, and he's pretty much chooses good stuff, not 100% of the time, but a lot of it. I first saw him in the Dennis Potter TV drama Lipstick on Your Collar, which is great, and he was really strong in. But it was Trainspotting that really made me take notice of him. I'm trying to remember what order. I think I didn't see Shallow Grave until after I'd seen Trainspotting. I sort of went back and watched that, but he's great in that as well. But yeah, his early British films, if you like, like Little Voice, Rogue Trader, which I mentioned in my actresses film for Anna Friel. Brassed Off, those sort of films he's wonderful in. Velvet Goldmine he's great in. Young Adam is a hugely underrated film that he just amazing performance in. And then sort of as he's gone on and achieved fame, let's not underestimate his Obi-Wan Kenobi. On top of that, you've got Moulin Rouge, great performance in that. Birds of Prey, and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Miss Harley Quinn, or whatever it's called. I loved his performance in that. Big Fish, the Tim Burton film, which is a hugely underrated film, and he's the lead in that, or co-lead. Again, just wonderful performance. Yeah, really strong actor, Ewan McGregor. Number 3, it surprised me when this name came into my head, but yeah. Number 3, I've gone for Simon Pegg. it sort of struck me that, I own a lot of films that Simon Pegg stars in, and a lot of them I have picked up because I like him. So obviously there's the Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End, which are three great films, particularly the first two, although I do have a lot of time for At World's End. And he's wonderful in those. But other than that, his work in the rebooted Star Trek, is it the Kelvin universe or whatever they call it, has been great. His smaller British films like Absolutely Anything, Big Nothing, highly underrated. Burke and Hare I really like. Fantastic Fear of Everything I really like. And then, they're all really strong. And then, there was sort of the period where he had some notoriety, but he hadn't quite gone blockbuster, so things like Run Fat Boy Run. This sort of, around the Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz period, where his name was being made. But then, since then, I thought he was great in Ready Player One. Paul I really enjoyed. And his role in the Mission Impossible films. Yeah, amongst many other performances. And, even his early comedy stuff on TV and related. Things like Hippies, Spaced, I love. Big Train, I love. But he's got small roles in League of Gentlemen's Apocalypse, Guest House Paradiso, sitcom Hippies he was the lead in, which I really loved. Yeah, so the more I think about it, the more I realise I really like Simon Pegg. So my number two, he used to be my number one, but he's another actor who I've sort of gone off the boil with his later work. Again, largely just through his choice of movies. It's Harrison Ford, but certainly through the 80s, easily my favourite actor. Didn't really put a foot wrong throughout all that time. Obviously the Star Wars films, obviously the Indiana Jones films, the original trilogy at least. But, films like Blade Runner, although I've only really come to that more recently. At the time, I didn't quite get Blade Runner, but looking back, amazing performance. The Fugitive, which we're into the 90s now, but he was still knocking out the great stuff then. Witness, absolutely love. Just realised I don't actually own that many of his stuff on physical media. I watched a load of it, I rented a load of it, but there's not many that I've actually now gone out and bought, rather surprisingly. But yeah, Witness, his Jack Ryan films, Mosquito Coast, Frantic, Working Girl, it was nice for him to do a more comedic role. Presumed Innocent, he was great in. Sort of round about the time of Air Force One, that sort of era is when I sort of fell a bit out of love with him. He's done some, Crossing Over was great. I enjoyed Cowboys and Aliens, but he was great in repeating his role as Rick Deckard in Blade Runner 2049. But, he's not done that much work in the last 20 years or so, and a few of those are just little cameos. But yeah, his 80s and early 90s stuff, really love. Harrison Ford. And my number one, and as I said at the start, he's really pretty much become my number one by default, and that is Tom Cruise. I just, have found myself enjoying so many of his films and so many of his performances that I've sort of come to realise he must be my favourite actor. There's some stuff of his that does nothing for me. I really have no time for Top Gun. I watched it once and it did nothing for me whatsoever. And you know, there's some of his stuff that's just never overly appealed, like Vanilla Sky, The Firm, Few Good Men. It's not the sort of thing that I've particularly wanted to watch, but you know, there's so many from his early roles in things like Risky Business and All the Right Moves, Legend, The Colour of Money's great. I like Cocktail, and many sort of the breakthrough of him as a more serious actor was Rain Man, which was a magnificent performance. We went from that into Born on the 4th of July, which was just wow, such a good performance. Interview with a Vampire, the Mission Impossible films I love. Jerry Maguire was great. Eyes Wide Shut I love. Magnolia I love. See, you know, as I'm scrolling, there's big chunks where I just haven't bothered watching them because they don't really appeal. War of the Worlds I had a lot of time for. Valkyrie was a great film. Night and Day I enjoyed a lot. I liked him as Jack Reacher, but I've never read the books, so it didn't, you know, affect me that he was nothing like the character in the books. But yeah, the 2 Jack Reacher films I really love. Edge of Tomorrow was great. Oblivion was great. The Mummy I had some time for. Not a lot of time for, but I had some time for. Yeah, you know, particularly his sort of last 10 years or so, 10, 15 years, I think he's just made some excellent films, and he's become my favourite actor. So yeah, my number 1 actor is Tom Cruise. Okay, there you go. That is my top 10 actors. As I mentioned at the start, I have done my top 10 actresses, which you can go back on, what will it be, on the Martin Muses playlist to find. But probably be the last one before this on that playlist, if not only 1 or 2 before it. And I'm going to do my favourite directors. So I'm going to switch this off and do that one. But thank you for watching. Let me know your favourites down below. I'm expecting lots of Tom Hanks. I don't like Tom Hanks. Sorry, but I don't. But yeah, let me know yours below. Thank you for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks. Bye.